There is one question which says, can you please explain IIoT and its advantage as it's a new subject? I'm publishing this, fantastic. See, IIoT basically is all about collecting the parameters from various controllers you have. If you install VFD, it can give you very rich set of information. Now, this information is collected using a modem, which is an industrial IoT modem, and it is transferred on the cloud. When it is transferred on the cloud, like it can be anything. It can be an Azure cloud, it can be an Amazon cloud, anything. And on the cloud, you will maintain the entire trend of parameter. So what is the advantage of this? The moment you have this, you understand what is the time at which you need to take your boiler for shutdown, for a maintenance. Okay, this is a simple advantage which people keep on talking about it. You will understand what are your maintenance requirements. But more than this, looking at the trends side by side, you will be able to understand how your utilization is happening. Now, what this IIoT does is, it will basically take away your entire logbook, which is in the written format, and completely digitize it and store it on the cloud for you to retrieve it anytime. This is one simple thing it does. At an higher level, you can add more and more sensors on your boiler. For example, you can add a sensor on your plumber block of the ID fan in order to understand how the temperature is increasing, and hence what is the time at which you have to grease the plumber block. Today you may be deciding that plumber block greasing will have to happen once in 15 days. Maybe it is too much or maybe it is too less, depending on the speed of the ID fan, depending on the loading of the ID fan, then there is an impact. Even though you have, let us say, 1200 RPM fan, you may not be running 1200 all the time. You may be running only 500, 600, 700 RPM. So if it is 700 RPM, why replace the grease once in 15 days? You may be able to replace the grease once in 20 days. How do you come to know about it? By measuring the temperature. Okay. Similarly, if you install a vibration sensor on top of this plumber block, you will understand what is the kind of vibration that is happening on the bearing and take a corrective action. Now, this is as far as fan is concerned. Similarly, if you monitor what is the O2 level, if you monitor what is the water level, if you monitor what is the amount of current consumed by the FD fan, current consumed by the ID fan, what is the pressures at the outlet of every equipment, it is going to give you tons and tons of information, okay, through which your decision will be more accurate. I think that answers what IoT will help. And there is also another question which says how IIoT can be installed in relay panels. Oh, fantastic. Now, IIoT can be installed in relay panels also. All that you need to have is a data logger. Okay. Now, people always feel that PLC panels only actually use the data logger. It is not the case. You can have simple data loggers. The parameters which are critical for trend are not the digital inputs, are not the on and off operation of the contactor. What is important is steam pressure. What is important is stack temperature. What is important is pressure at the inlet and outlet of accessories. All these things, the sensors, even in the relay panel, are put and it is given to some kind of a controller. You can actually transmit that signal into IoT modem and transfer it into cloud. That is very easily possible. It is not very costly. It is very, very cheap in these days. That can be easily done. Okay. I think there is one more question which says, can you please explain once again why PRV should be preferred over control valve for steam reduction? Okay. Let me publish this. So why PRV should be preferred? Now, PRV is a pressure reducing valve. Control valve is a temperature control valve. Now, if you look at the basic equipment which does this function, it is control valve. Even in PRV, there is control valve. Even for controlling the temperature also, there is control valve. But what makes difference is the action what it takes. When PRV is put, its action is to maintain constant pressure. If you have a steam pressure, which is at 3 bar, then your available amount of heat is absorbed when the 3 bar steam gets converted into 3 bar water. Now, if you have a control valve which is working based on the temperature, it does not control the pressure. It will only open and close based on the temperature. If the temperature is low, the control valve can open to such an extent, the pressure at the inlet of the radiator, even though the requirement is only 3 bar, it may go to 8 bar. So till the time there is 8 bar steam available, trap will work like a 8 bar trap. So then your heat availability will be from 8 bar steam to 8 bar water, which is very less. If you understand the enthalpy curve, you will understand that as the pressure starts dropping down, the enthalpy that can be used for transferring the heat becomes higher. So always the lower pressure steam will give you, will increase your utilization of the steam. I would not say it will give more heat. It is not, if the heat is sufficient enough at that point in time, use only so much. By having a higher gradient steam, you are only going to waste the amount of heat when it gets converted into water, because it gets converted into 8 bar water. So the control valve, when it is used for temperature, it does not take care of the pressure. It will allow the pressure to go very high, and that actually leads to a lot of losses. Hope I have answered that. I think we can take this up in our groups also if you need more clarification on that. There is one more question which says, how do you ascertain or calculate amount of fuel being fed in the furnace? Well, this is $1 million question. Ascertaining the quantity of fuel that is being fed into the furnace is very tricky in nature. That is the point which I was telling when I talked about the screw feeder. It depends on what kind of a fuel feeding system you have. Okay, now I am assuming this is a question where there is no manual feeding. There is an automated feeding into the boiler, because when there is manual feeding, the only way is to check what is the amount of fuel you are given to the boiler operator or the fireman. When it is automated feeding, screw feeders are there. Screw feeders trough loading and the output per revolution changes as the speed keeps on increasing and reducing. Now in today's scenario, you have VFD to do this function. Okay. Now VFDs can be used with a data logger in order to find out what is the number of revolutions that it has taken in a given amount of time. Let us say 1 hour. For 15 minutes, VFD may be working at 20 Hertz. For 10 minutes, it is working at 40 Hertz. For 5 minutes, it is working at 30 Hertz. Using a data logger, you can accumulate this variation and convert it into number of revolutions. And depending on this 15 minutes at 40 Hertz, there may be a different trough loading and hence different value, that is different, the fuel consumption, fuel output per revolution. When it is at 20 Hertz, there can be different fuel output per revolution. If it becomes very easy, if you have a PLC in order to program this, you can divide it into multiple lookup tables and get into calculating what is the amount of fuel that is being fed into the furnace. So this way you can do it. People generally what they do is they put a proximity center and count the number of revolutions and take a figure and multiply it. This is in the absence of nothing, this is better. But then there is a better way of doing it when you have a PLC, which can be little more accurate than what the proximity sensor and the counter can give. Hope that answers. Why feeding output decreases on higher frequency of screw feeder? Okay, I've been touching on this. See what happens if you take a particular pitch. As the fuel starts coming down on top of it, the speed at which it rotates decides what is the level up to which the fuel is filled. It is not always filled at 100%. Even when they are doing the design, depending on the various bulk densities of the fuel, design considers what is the trough loading. There is nothing 100% trough loading. If it is a paddy husk, there is a trough loading which they take at about 80% in a given pitch volume. If it is a coal, they take it at 90%. Okay, now what happens if it is a coal with lot of moisture, then this trough loading can go to 100%. As the speed increases, the amount of volume up to which the fuel is able to fill reduces. If the speed reduces, the amount of volume to which the fuel can fill increases. Okay, so that is why at various levels the fuel output can be varying. What is the right method of calculating efficiency, direct or indirect? Okay, I would say the right method of calculating efficiency is indirect. Although direct and indirect method, when applied in a proper way, when you do the steam efficiency trials in a proper way, it should yield the same result. There is nothing wrong with both of them. Now, why indirect efficiency? Look at the way you calculate indirect efficiency. You are going to take each of the parameters. You are going to measure what is the stack loss. You are going to measure what is the surface radiation loss. You are going to measure what is the unburnt loss. When you measure all these losses, you know which loss is more and which loss is less. Since you know which loss is more and which loss is less, you can act on it. You can decide if your unburnt loss is higher, then you can decide what to do about unburnt loss. What changes I need to do in my combustor, how I need to change my FD fan, how my ID fan tuning will have to work. These decisions can be taken. But when you do it in a direct method, you don't know. Yes, the efficiency is 75%. But why it is 75%? Where is the higher amount of losses happening? For that, you again will have to go and measure the losses. That is why indirect efficiency is better. And further, the instruments used for measuring indirect efficiency, like oxygen analyzer, for example, the temperature sensor, these give more accurate readings in comparison with measuring the fuel using your fuel cell, or measuring the fuel using your number of revolutions. This has very high amount of inaccuracy. So that is why it is better to use direct method in comparison with to use indirect method in comparison with direct. Okay, I hope that answers. How costly is IIoT while going for a new project? I mean, if it is a new project, if I have to tell how costly it is, how costly is IIoT, maybe it is equivalent to the service charge of 4 or 5 days of service engineer. Okay, so it's not more than that. It's certainly not in lakhs. It may be in few tens of thousands. So it is very easy to go for IIoT with a new project. You have to close your eyes and go for IIoT. What is important in IIoT is what do you do with this data? I mean, there are always fantastic dashboards that is available. You will get superb screens, everything you can see. But then what to do, what action you take based on that is what is going to decide the usefulness of IIoT. Concentrate on that. When you have IIoT, it gives visibility for you to draw the intervention when it requires. You can draw the service engineers from the manufacturer whenever they need. Whenever the system demands, rather than taking it when you feel that it is not okay. Okay, so it becomes very easy. So the cost part of it is hardly anything. Please go for it. Can you explain the process of measuring efficiency of the boiler by indirect method? Okay, now measuring the efficiency by indirect method by itself is something like a 30 minutes webinar, which I will have to conduct when you go into details of the things. We will touch upon this. Please, continue to be with us, be in the group. We will have an exclusive seminar. Also, I would suggest, there are a lot of YouTube videos that is available in order to measure by indirect. Indirect efficiency, as I have been telling, it measures the losses and deducts it from the 100%. Let us look about it, more deeply in the coming days. If calorific value of ash analysis comes more and weight comes as per fuel ash percentage, does it indicate unburnt? Okay. Now this is a contradicting parameter. What happens is, when you take calorific value of the ash, it's a matter of how you have drawn the sample. Okay. Now, if you have drawn the sample by thoroughly mixing the entire ash, then this cannot happen. You cannot have weight, coming less and calorific value coming high. Ash is generated when it is completely burnt, when it loses its, all the combustible particle and only the mineral matter is left out. So the weight naturally will have to be lower. If calorific value is high and weight is less, it means it's a sampling error and nothing beyond that. Please don't believe it. Do a proper sampling. You will always be able to match these two parameters. And also, when you go by weight, it is a bulk method. When you go by calorific value, it's a sampling method. So bulk method will always give you lesser inaccurate reading or more accurate reading. What disadvantages would IIoT give over a DAS system other than remote access to the data. I am not really getting what is DAS system. I guess you are talking of a central system in order to monitor the entire parameter. So I would say that in today's scenario, your central monitoring system and IIoT is basically same. But then central monitoring system or your DCS, I guess it is DCS, your digital control system. Your DCS is a very expensive system which people cannot easily implement it. IIoT and IoT has basically made it cheaper for the people to experience the advantages of DCS system, which typically employed by the bigger companies. It is same. I think manufacturers should provide all standard data while procurement as the performance parameter, fuel specification, and first 1 month or 2 month measurement to confirm the performance, so the data can be used as base and all future measurements can be compared. Okay, fantastic. Let me put a perspective over here. I would not blame manufacturers or anything of that sort. Manufacturers provide you standard data, but then you will never get a fuel as per the standard data. Okay, that's one of the problems. And manufacturers does provide what is the design data or the operating parameter data at a particular fuel loading and particular steam extraction. But then in a running condition, this is never constant. It keeps on varying. Okay, what manufacturers or the designer can calculate is a theoretical value taking certain constancy of input. They take either the fuel is constant or the steam output is constant. At a particular thing being constant, what is the kind of operating outputs you get? They provide that data. But in reality, it is continuously varying. There is nothing constant in any of the parameters, and hence the trend of operation becomes very, very important. And this is where IoT comes into picture. Okay. So first 1 or 2 months, if you have soon after the installation, soon after the good installation, if you have the data, which is really idealistic in nature, which is very close to idealistic in nature, you will be able to make your future decisions based on that. That's the importance of today's technology. I hope I have touched the right perspective over there. Can you explain the process of measuring efficiency of the boiler by indirect method? I think that I just addressed it. I don't agree that at lower pressure steam, the dryness fraction is less. No, certainly not. Lower pressure steam does not mean the dryness fraction is less. It's a matter of generation in the boiler. When you generate steam at a lower pressure in the boiler, there are chances that the dryness fraction can get affected. Okay, now how does the steam get separated out when in the boiler? Now, if you look at the level gauge, you will see a constant level. That is not how inside the boiler it looks like. If you are boiling water on a pot on a stove, you can see the amount of boiling that happens, ups and downs that happens. When you operate at the lower pressure, depending on the area of disengagement, the amount of water particles that get carried away when the steam is flowing can be higher when at the lower pressure. The amount of water particles that gets carried away with the steam will be lower when it is at higher pressure. Okay, so in that terms, at the generation point, generating the steam at a higher pressure will have lesser impact on the dryness fraction. Operate it close to the design pressure. The disengaging area, the level of disengagement that is designed by the manufacturer is based on the 10 bar pressure or 9 bar pressure. They don't design it based on 5 bar pressure. Okay, so that is what I mean to touch. So certainly I also don't agree that lower pressure steam has lesser dryness fraction. In fact, if you are using PRS, the lower pressure steam can have a higher dryness fraction, which can even mitigate your transport loss. Can you please keep a session on IIoT? Fantastic. Let me try to touch upon it. It's not directly related to the boiler, but this is also something which will be very interesting for me to do too. I'll certainly touch. In fact, across PRV at lower pressure at the outlet, the dryness fraction improves. Exactly. I hope I touched on this point. What is the benchmark efficiency for FM boiler with natural gas and furnace oil? Okay. I guess FM boiler is a water tube boiler. It's a boiler similar to boil drum with a D type of furnace design. It has nothing to do with the kind of design of the boiler. There is FM boilers which is designed for the furnace oil. Traditionally were designed for 88% efficiency, and with additional heat recovery units, it can go up to 91%. If you have converted an oil-fired unit, that is a furnace oil-fired, into a natural gas, the impact would be that the efficiency actually would remain more or less the same as the furnace oil. It will not be drastically high. But natural gas, per se, the boiler can be designed to have higher efficiency than the furnace oil. That is by adding additional heat recovery unit, or the heat recovery unit being made much bigger than what is there for a furnace oil. The efficiency can be used. This typically comes from the fact of the dew point temperature. In the furnace oil, the dew point temperature is about 145 degrees centigrade. So typically, the exit temperatures for which the heat recovery unit and the pressure part is designed is all for 160 degrees. If you use natural gas in the same furnace, furnace is not a constant in D-type boiler, unlike shell type. So if you use the same thing, you are constrained by the pressure part area rather than anything else. So your efficiency may remain same. It may not be very different than furnace oil. 88% without any heat recovery, and 91% with heat recovery. So if the boiler is exactly designed for natural gas, then you can push the heat recovery to the limits. You can go up to 96, 97%. That's a possibility. Hope that answers. Okay. Both Thermax and Forbes recommended me not to go for VFD for new NG boiler FD fan. However, I did not understand the reason behind it. Can you share your perspective on the same? Okay. In fact, both the manufacturers are very reputed, and I'm sure both of them will give you what is right. And what they have said is right. When you look at the FD fan, be it in the solid fuel, be it in the oil and gas, or anywhere, you save power not only by reducing the volume. Along with the volume, it also reduces the head of the fan. Now, when you are using a natural gas burner, the head that the FD fan is expected to deliver is same, constant. For example, I guess it can vary from 600 to 700 mm of water column. The FD fan can vary up to that. When you are firing 100% of natural gas, the boiler naturally, the FD fan naturally runs at 600 mm of water column. And also the air required is, let us say, for example, I am assuming 100 meter cube per minute. If you reduce the firing rate to 50%, then the air requirement certainly reduces to 50 meter cube per minute, but the head requirement will not reduce square time. Okay. So when you put a VFD, what happens is, as the volume reduces, your head generated by the fan reduces square time. And that is not suitable. You cannot reduce the head. Even at 50% of the fuel firing rate, the head required by the burner remains at 500, 550 mm of water column, so you can't reduce the speed. So when you are employing VFD for the FD fan, the amount of savings as what you expect will not happen, but it can have a direct impact on the unburnt level in the fuel, which can be dangerous in case of natural gas, and it is not advisable to go for VFD. And this is applicable for any solid fuel also. But then what happens is, because of the overrating or the over designing of the selection capacity, people end up having a boiler of 10 ton when they need the steam at about 4.5, 5 ton. So that is where the VFDs on the FD fan make a lot of impact. It has to be properly thought after and a solution to be provided. Plainly, you can't reduce the VFD. What they have said is correct. Both of them have given the right solution to you. Can you touch upon condensing economizer when in natural gas? We are talking about efficiency. Can you touch upon when you are discussing about efficiency hacks? Certainly, I think natural gas seems to be a very interesting topic. and also condensing economizer, because it gives a very sensitizing figure of 102%, 99%, 98%. This is a very phenomenal figure. It certainly makes people interesting. I'll assure you that we will have a webinar with appropriate calculations, or at least we will generate a video with appropriate calculations for you to understand it better. Please hold on with us, bear with us. We will certainly touch upon this. But I have a VFD and all my existing effort solid fired boilers. Am I doing it wrong right now? The question you have to ask is, yes, you have a VFD, but what is the frequency at which you operate this VFD? If you are operating this VFD at 47 Hertz, 48 Hertz, 46 Hertz, believe me, you are consuming more power than power by employing VFD than what the fan would have consumed. Because VFDs by itself has certain amount of efficiency of power consumption. It is not that VFD does not lead to any losses. VFD as equipment has losses. My guess is if you are using VFDs on your FO fired boilers, I'm sure you will not be able to reduce the VFD speed less than 45 Hertz at the worst case scenario, or the best case scenario. Anything lesser than that, it is going to impact your combustion. Let me know about this on your group. It will be interesting for me to look at that data also. Around 30-35 Hertz. Okay, if you are using it at 30-35 Hertz, then is it that you are running the boiler at a very derated capacity? As I said, you have a capacity of, let us say, 10 tons, and you are running it at 45% or 50% of it. If that is what you have done, yes, then it makes sense. It has been a very well thought out design factor where the entire burner could have been altered accordingly. For natural gas, do make sense if someone wants to adjust oxygen. Yes. I mean, there is a question. Let me read out the question. It says VFD on FD fan for natural gas do make sense if someone wants to adjust oxygen. Yes, if somebody wants to adjust oxygen in a very accurate level, it does make sense, but it does not give you any power savings. Especially in the areas where the humidity can vary very widely, and the temperatures can vary very widely. Your nighttime temperature will be like 15-20 degrees, and daytime temperature can be like 30-35 degrees. If that is the kind of variation you are having, and your humidity can vary from, let us say, 40% to 70%. If that is the kind of variation you are having, then the oxygen trimming becomes very important. So oxygen trimming can be achieved using VFD. Oxygen trimming can be achieved using damper. Both are equally effective. So VFD can be used, but it would not give you any power savings as such. Then what is this? There is one question which says, then what is this Wise Drive 2000 from Siemens? I'm sorry, I'm really not aware of what is Wise Drive 2000 from Siemens. Let me do some research on that. If it's something related to boiler, certainly I will come back to you on that. Wise Drive 2000 seems to be probably a VFD with certain boiler related features which are inbuilt into it. This is what it looks like for me, but I need to do more research before I can answer your query on that. Please hold on with it. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. There are no more questions available over here. I guess looking at the number of questions I have received today, I must say that I'm very happy having this webinar. Earlier we used to receive very less number of questions. More the number of questions, it gives us a real encouragement for us to go ahead with it. I once again request you all to give your feedback once you receive the link. Also, let us know what are your hot topics which you want us to touch. We will certainly touch upon that. Your queries and your operational experiences actually gives us enough insight where the peer learning can go very high. Okay, now the gentleman whoever has asked about the natural gas, VFD, all these things, I mean their experience actually gives insights for the others on the group to learn a lot about it. Please do publish the questions, publish the queries on the group, on the webinar. It will be very good for us to do it. Thanks for joining. Thanks one and all. Thanks a lot.